I wanted to talk about healthy achievers. And when examining healthy achievers, what commonalities do they share? What types of mindsets and behaviors do they exhibit?
Yeah, for this book, I went in search of what did these healthy achievers had in common. What I will say is they, first of all, mattered to themselves. They knew that they were worthy of rest. They understood when they worked best. They put time in their calendar to actually take a break. One student I talked to actually had in his calendar, take these 2 hours for yourself. First of all, they had this sense of value and they protected themselves. They didn't drink excessively or use drugs because they didn't want to do that to themselves. The other thing that these healthy achievers had in common is that they knew their strengths. Their parents and other adults in their lives helped them use those strengths and match them to genuine needs in the community. So it wasn't, oh, I want to do a clothing drive because I want to get rid of the clothes in my closets, but actually having the tools to go and find out what is needed in my community right now. What can I do to help fill that need? So centering the need on the people who actually need the help. One of the things that really stood out to me was that their parents gave them the mindset and the skill set of interdependence. So often as parents, we believe that our job is to raise independent adults, which of course it is. Like, of course, that's a priority for me. But what I have found to be more profound is to raise children and young adults who believe that they are worthy of reaching out for help and that they are worthy relationship partners who can be depended on for others. What these parents focused on was helping their child recognize that it takes courage to ask for help. They modeled this behavior for their own children. I actually did this in my own home. My daughter was struggling on a paper. She was in eighth grade, and her teacher had given her a lot of comments. And I pulled up the first article I wrote for the science section of the Washington Post by a very seasoned editor, and it had tons of edits on it. And I said to her, look, it was red, it was a bloodbath. I at first was embarrassed to need this much help, right? I'm a journalist. Why do I need this much help? But then I looked at it as this editor thought I was worthy enough to invest in. And so I was grateful for the time that they invested in it. And so they helped their kids understand the mindsets of interdependence, not talking about codependence. I'm talking about this mutual healthy reliance. That was a major takeaway for me.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when I was in the military. I worked for a gentleman named Commander Bill Fitzsimmons, and he was a stickler on writing. And I think because of him, my writing is what it is today because I can't tell you how many times I'd have to rewrite documents for him. About 2 years later, finally, I, I think for the first time, he gave me one that was completely clean and said, I think you finally have got it. But
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing how he invested in you? It really makes you feel valued.
it does. I'm sure he didn't want to have to do that. I didn't think they were badly written myself, but he wanted them to emulate him because these messages were coming from his authority. And so I had to make sure I got his voice right and how he liked to have things communicated. It was such an important learning lesson for me.